story of Dead Rising 2 Off the Record is definitely an alternate reality what if. This is Frank in the Fortune City Outbreak rather than Chuck in the Fortune City Outbreak. We have a few surprises up our sleeve with those two worlds sort of colliding though. So we decided to bring Frank back to the game because originally there was a director's cut plan for Dead Rising 2. However, once we announced the title, there was such an overwhelming fan and press reaction to the fact that we had removed Frank from the game and swapped him with Chuck Green. So that created an opportunity for us with this product where rather than do a traditional director's cut and just clip bits on top of Chuck's story, we decided to actually give the fans what they wanted, which was Frank West. And the team had a lot of fun then running with that concept and trying to figure out what does this mean for the story and what does it mean to bring Frank West and his gameplay back into the series. So in terms of story, bringing Frank West back into the game meant that we had to completely reimagine how we would integrate his character in and make the story make sense for him. So whereas Chuck Green was a motorcycle star and a handyman, and he had a daughter who was infected, he was trying to save her, he was then framed for the outbreak. Frank West has a very, very different path through the Fortune City Outbreak. Where Frank's signature is definitely his camera, Chuck's signature was the combo weapons. When we were developing this game though, we definitely felt that we wanted the combo weapons back in. They were such a high point of Dead Rising 2, so we had to make sure that Frank could also create these combo weapons. And details on how that happens, we can't reveal at this time, but we definitely wanted those back in the game. With Case West, we had added the camera mechanic for Frank West. Having Frank as the second player in Case West meant that we needed the camera back. That's part of his character, but it was very much camera light. This time around, it's the entire camera system integrated back in. So we've got the PP stickers, we've got all of the categories, so you can take pictures of events or props that are horror, brutality, outtake, or erotica related, and all of those things feed into the PP system and allow Frank to gain levels and then earn more skills. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record will be released in fall of this year. It's coming out on Xbox 360, PC, and PS3.
Hey everybody, it's Marko Djordjic here at PAX. It is day 2 of the show. We are right now at the Capcom booth. I'm with Jason of Capcom Vancouver. We are checking out Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. Jason, thanks again for taking the time to show us the game. For those unfamiliar with Dead Rising 2, let's catch them up a little bit.
Sure. Well, Dead Rising 2 Off the Record is a re-envisioning or reimagining of the Fortune City Outbreak from Dead Rising 2. Dead Rising 2 was a sequel to Dead Rising 1, which came out in 2006. That game starred Frank West. The second game starred Chuck Green, a different hero for the franchise. Off the Record, though, is the return of Frank West. So he's coming back. He's got a new mystery to solve with a zombie outbreak in Fortune City, and we've added tons of new stuff to the game.
All right, now let's talk about some of those new things. What have you added on to that people won't have seen from the last game?
Yeah. Well, we've added tons of new weapons, combo weapons, food, clothing items, and so on. We've added a new area to the game, a theme park, an alien theme park called the Uranus Zone. But the big announcement here at PAX this year is we're announcing our new mode, which is the Sandbox mode. And this is a mode that the fans have wanted for a long, long time. We've received lots of requests for, I just want a mode where I can jump into the world, explore, use the weapons, kill zombies with no story and no timer, and that's exactly what we've given them. And as a bonus, what we've done is we put in a set of challenges where you can play by yourself or with a buddy, have challenges to kill zombies, collect items, and so on with time limits, and then post your scores to leaderboard.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on right now behind the screen. Some of the new nuances that we can expect in this edition.
Yeah, this is one of the combo rooms. So this is just like Dead Rising 2, where you could go to combo rooms, take two weapons, combine them together. Sometimes two weapons that are sort of useless by themselves, but once you combine them, it creates a deadly zombie killing weapon. And with Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, we've added a number of new combo weapons, several which are on display in our demo here.
Now, I got to see a couple of them beforehand. The one that really caught my eye was a little homage to a certain sci-fi film series. Are there any other kind of surprises that we can expect like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a number that we've added, especially for the Uranus Zone, the new theme park, where there were certain weapons that we put just to sell the environment, and as soon as we put them in, we decided, hey, that would actually be cool as a combo weapon as well. So one of my favorites is called Laser Eyes, and that's putting on an alien mask, combining it with gems on the eyes, and that creates like a War of the Worlds laser beam that you can use to cut zombies in half.
Nice. Now that will help with the combos when you're completing those sandbox objectives, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. Now, were there any challenges or things that you guys wanted to add to the game that you just couldn't do?
You know, a game like this is so huge. There's so many weapons. There's over 350 weapons in this game. It's bursting at the seams as it is, but we certainly took the dev cycle, the time we had, the people we had, and we crammed as much as we possibly could into this game. And one of the things that's really important to point out is we've had several questions around, is this DLC? This is not DLC. This is a full-on shelf product that'll be coming out on October 11th. And it is actually a bigger game than Dead Rising 2. So even if you're familiar with that game, you played that game, this is going to be a very fresh new experience, and also with a lower price. I think it's a big bargain.
Nice. Since you told us when we can expect and now which consoles can we see this on?
Right, this is coming out on Xbox 360, PS3, and on the PC.
All right, well, thanks again for showing us the game. Back to you guys.
We are at Playground with Jason Lee, the executive producer on Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. I gotta ask, why make a remake of Dead Rising 2?
A remake was always planned with this game. When we took on the contract to do Dead Rising 2, there was always a director's cut planned, but those plans actually changed when we announced Dead Rising 2, and there was a big fan outcry about Frank West being removed from the series. So in the end, Dead Rising 2 was very successful. Chuck Green was accepted as the new hero of the franchise, but we took that outcry from the fans as a great opportunity to bring Frank back to the series and retell the Fortune City Outbreak, this time with Frank West as the hero.
Yes, this is like a sort of non-canon version of the story from the original Dead Rising 2. Is the story going to divert in any way? Are we going to see the same villains and same sort of twists, or?
The story definitely is going to have some surprises in it. So it is still the Fortune City Outbreak. It's still in Fortune City. A lot of the same characters return, but not all the characters are what they seem. And there's definitely going to be some surprises with the story and with the missions that you have to do in order to solve the mystery of the conspiracy.
So now that Frank is back, I know the camera is back as well.
Yes.
Are you bringing anything else back from the first Dead Rising?
So the camera's the big one for sure. That's the signature tool of the trade of Frank West. Mm-hmm. And of course we brought back the entire camera mechanic. With Case West for Dead Rising 2, it was sort of camera light. This has the full ability to earn PP from categories like brutality and horror and so on. Also coming back from Dead Rising 1 are all of Frank's skills and a lot of his animations. For Chuck Green, we redid all of the attack animations. Frank has a very different fighting style. He's more of a brawler, bruiser type character, so we brought back all of his skills, but then added more on top of that.
Dead Rising 2, or Dead Rising as well as Dead Rising 2, were like renowned for the crazy amount of zombies that were on screen, isn't that once? Are you upping the amount of zombies for Off the Record?
Yes, we are. We've actually increased the zombie density in almost all of the areas in the game, so we can push several thousand zombies at once in an environment. And of course we had to make Frank a little bit stronger, a little bit more capable, and give him some even deadlier weapons to be able to cope with those zombies.
Is there anything from, any mechanics-wise, anything from Dead Rising 2 that you're not bringing back, or?
Yeah, we've removed the Terrorist Reality multiplayer, so the 4-player multiplayer we've taken out. Mm-hmm. However, in its place we've added the sandbox mode, which is a mode similar to the Infinity mode from Dead Rising 1, where you can play the world completely unlocked with no pressure of a time limit and no story. And because the world is so lush and full of weapons and so on, it's a great mode that you can get in and just explore without having that pressure.
Is the weapons manufacturing still in?
Yes, Frank can make combo weapons the same as Chuck could, and we've upped the number of combo weapons as well. So with the new theme park that we put in, that gave us the opportunity to put in several brand new combo weapons, and some of them are the most crazy ones that we put in the series so far.
Who do you think would win in a fight between Frank and Chuck?
Maybe we should put both of them in Street Fighter and have them duke it out or something. I think that they'd be pretty even, actually. Frank's the brawler. Chuck is a little bit more of almost like a martial artist, but they're both tough guys, so it would be even.
All right. When are you releasing?
Dead Rising 2 Off the Record comes out on October 14th in Europe, and it's coming out on Xbox 360, PS3, and PC.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Hey folks, Sean McInnes here, talking to Jason Lee, executive producer of Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, a game that was just announced to us this morning, pretty much. Jason, it's a funny story how you guys came upon this game. You were saying that originally you guys wanted to do a director's cut, but it didn't really turn out that way. You guys had other things in mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, originally we did want to do a director's cut for Dead Rising 2. Capcom has a long history of director's cuts, and they've been extremely successful, and we wanted to give that same treatment to Dead Rising. However, the fan reaction when we first announced Dead Rising 2 about Frank not being in the game was huge, so we actually took it as an opportunity to reimagine the Fortune City Outbreak. What would happen if we brought Frank West back into the game and had him experience the Outbreak with the gameplay and the character that he brings to the story?
So the obvious question when people first hear about this is this sort of an alternate reality, an alternate universe version of the events of Dead Rising 2? Is it pretty much, instead of Chuck, now you're Frank and that's it? Or what else are you guys doing there?
So from a story standpoint, it is safe to say that it's an alternate reality. This definitely is not, though, just a hero swap. This isn't a reskin. We've made sure that if we're going to bring Frank West back into the game, everything that makes Frank West who he is, both from a character standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint, all of that is represented in the game. And the biggest, most obvious thing for sure is the camera.
Exactly. So, and the camera's obviously one of the new features in the game. Tell us about the balance here between, adding new features into the game to breathe some new life into Dead Rising 2, but also keeping the features in there that made the original game so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the pillars, of course, of the franchise are things like the density, the zombies, exploration, sandboxing on a clock. All of those things are still in there. And then the change that we have by bringing Frank West back in is his character is a photojournalist, and he sort of lives and dies by his camera. That's how he earns his living. So when he's experiencing the outbreak in Fortune City, he can still use combo weapons in the same way that Chuck Green did, but he's actually looking for more opportunities to expose this outbreak and the conspiracy behind it.
And you mentioned that another one of the changes that you guys made is to the save system. What have you done there, and what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah. Well, the reasoning behind it, of course, is just to listen to the fans. The fans and the press had a lot of great feedback after Dead Rising 2, and it gave us an opportunity to go in and address some of those issues. So we knew that the save system, even though we had made improvements by adding the new save slots for Dead Rising 2, people still weren't satisfied that we had taken that quite far enough. So what we've done is added a checkpoint system. And what this does is whenever you hit a critical story moment, or whenever you load into a new area, or whenever you're about to fight a boss, we save a checkpoint so that in the event of player death, it's a lot easier to jump straight back in and then solve that next part of the game.
All right, Jason, and just to clarify things, this is going to be a boxed retail product, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this isn't DLC. This is going to be an actual boxed product. It will be appropriately priced. And it's very important to note that this is a giant game. This game is actually larger than Dead Rising 2 because of all of the additions that we put into it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this stuff. I know you mentioned that you guys are going to be showing a lot more at E3, so guys, make sure to come back for that. And one last question for you, Jason. When is the final game going to be out in stores, and which platforms is it going to be out for?
So Dead Rising 2 Off the Record will be out in fall of this year, and it's coming out on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Thanks a lot, Jason. You guys have it. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record.
I'm going to Uranus Zone.
We're at the Capcom booth now, together with Jason from Capcom Vancouver, and a character a lot of people missed in Dead Rising 2, Frank West. Why did you decide to bring him back?
Well, it was the fact that the fans missed him, actually. This game was originally conceived as a director's cut of Dead Rising 2, but once we saw the reaction from the fans about Frank not being in the first game, they really wanted him back, and we decided what a great opportunity to try something very different, reimagine the Outbreak in Fortune City with the original character Frank West and all the gameplay that would bring to the series, having him back with his camera.
What do you think people like so much about Frank?
Frank's a cocky guy. I think they like his swagger. They like the one-liners. I've covered wars, you know, that line kind of stuck for people. And he's a bit of a brawler, a bruiser. I think Chuck was a little bit more motivated by rescuing his daughter or keeping his daughter safe, and he didn't have the same kind of personality that Frank had, coming in and being there more for himself to find the story and get himself famous. So I think people really groove on that about his character.
Well, I guess playtime's over.
One issue that I had with Dead Rising 2 was the fact that you had to rescue your daughter, you had to find the zombie antidotes to give her the shots, and it was a very serious undertones, very serious scenes where you sat behind your daughter, and we were sitting there wearing like a mini shirt tied up and like small hot pants. Felt very like the tones clashed. What's the tone like now with Frank being back in Off the Record?
Right. Well, the beauty of Dead Rising is it's got a strange dichotomy between a serious tone, serious story, serious plot, but also the sheer ridiculousness of the situation that he's in. And it's fun just running around, finding all of these crazy weapons, not only killing zombies, but sort of humiliating them as well, putting silly things on their heads and so on, and definitely dressing up Frank in silly costumes is part of the fun.
What is part of the reimagining of the events? What happens in this version of the events of Dead Rising?
Right, so with Dead Rising 2, Chuck was there to keep his daughter safe, and Chuck actually got framed for the outbreak, and he had to clear his own name. This time around, Frank West is coming to Fortune City to compete in Terror's Reality to try and get himself back on top. He was a celebrity after Dead Rising 1. He sort of flushed his fame down the toilet, and now he's looking for something to get himself back in the game. And that's exactly what the zombie outbreak does. So this time he's back in Fortune City. He's trying to solve the mystery again, the conspiracy. And because of that, the story is very different. The plot is very different. And also the demo that we're showing this year at E3 with the theme park, we're showing a brand new level that has brand new gameplay that we haven't seen before in a Dead Rising game.
So why was the decision made not to just go to a Dead Rising 3 featuring Frank?
Well, as I said, there was always a director's cut plan for this game, so we were committed to move ahead with that project. But in the end, it's been a lot of fun to change it up and have Frank in the game and kind of re-envision it rather than just do Chuck again and then sort of bolt some extra missions and boss battles and weapons on.
So how ambitious is the project? How for players that have played through Dead Rising 2, how much is new? How fresh is it for those players?
Right. It's hard to put a number on, sort of a percentage of how much is new, but I think if you look at the theme park area, for sure that's all new area and all new content. We're showing a bunch of new combo weapons, brand new weapons. We have new food items, we have new clothing, we have some new bosses that we haven't revealed yet. We have a new vehicle that we've put in there. The story, like I said, is very different, so many of the missions have changed significantly. And yet to come that we haven't revealed is our brand new secret mode, which I think the fans are going to be really surprised at and have a lot of fun with.
Lately we've seen, or over the last couple of years, we've seen quite a lot of zombie games, and we still have now. We have Dead Island coming out, for example, which obviously takes a lot of inspiration from games like Dead Rising and Left 4 Dead. But what do you think it is? Why do zombies keep coming back? What is it about them that fascinates us in that kind of way?
Yeah, zombies are definitely a big part of pop culture right now with all the TV shows and movies and games and so on. Zombies have been a staple of games for a long, long time, going all the way back to Resident Evil and beyond. And I think the cool thing of Dead Rising is it's part of that zombie lore, but it's also a little bit of a different take because zombie games tend to be very, very serious and very gritty and violent. And we have a bit of a niche, we feel, where we're doing the gore that you would expect and the horror of zombies, but also the humor. So in terms of why zombies are popular right now, I can't really put my finger on it apart from the fact that it's a primal thing to think about people who once might have been friends or loved ones sort of turning on you and coming after you. And every zombie, either film or literature or game, definitely plugs into that.
Hey everyone, this is Randolph here. We're at E3 2011 and I'm with Mike Schmidt from Capcom to talk about Dead Rising 2 off the record. Essentially, from what we know of it, this is essentially Dead Rising 2 from the point of view of our main cameraman, Frank West. Can you tell us how he's getting involved in this story, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of summed it up there in a nutshell. It's an alternate version of Dead Rising 2, but with Frank West in the starring role. A lot of people, love Dead Rising 2. They love Chuck Green, but they were kind of wondering, about Frank. I mean, they know Frank from the first game. They, have a lot of affinity towards him and want to know what happened. This is a reimagining of that game told from his point of view. So if you remember at the end of, DR1, Frank's infected. He kind of falls on hard times, and, he goes to Fortune City to compete on Terror's reality to earn some money. And that's where it kind of starts off.
And as you said, this is an alternative reality, so this isn't, I guess, the strict, this isn't a strict retelling of Dead Rising 2, is that right?
Yeah, it's an alternate version. So if you wanted to look at the timeline and where this game fits in the overall timeline of the Dead Rising series, it doesn't. It's a one-off. It's like an alternate version of DR2.
So it's good to see Frank back. What does he bring with him in Off the Record? What sort of new things are you adding to the game?
Well, first off, his camera stuff is back. That was all reworked when we did Case West at the end of last year. So the camera taking stuff is back. You can get PP for all the different categories when you're taking pictures. One of the things that's cool is a lot of the missions have been reworked. So if you've played through Dead Rising 2 and you play through this game, it's not going to be what you expected because there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. So alternate missions, different psychos, a few little storyline things that are different. So it's just a different take on it. All sorts of new combo weapons have been added. There's, new clothing, new food items. They've kind of done a lot of work too under the hood, which is nice. As far as load times are better. We've added in like an automatic checkpoint save system. We've worked on zombie AI. You'll see some new zombie types. You'll notice the psychos. The AI is better and they're more challenging. And in North America, we're really excited too because the game's priced at $39.99. So it's actually at a value price and you're getting a full brand new Dead Rising 2 product.
I'm loving the checkpoint save. I think that's a great addition. Now, in terms of, I guess, storyline here, will it have alternate endings like Dead Rising 2 did with Chuck Green?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the hallmarks of the series, so that's all back in this game.
I hear there's also a brand new area to explore in this, is that right?
Yeah, we're actually showing it off here at E3. It's called Uranus Zone. It's actually an alien-themed amusement park in Fortune City. It's about the size of one of the casinos in Fortune City, so that'll give you, kind of a gauge of how big it is. And it's just full of all sorts of goofy attractions. I mean, there's rides that you can interact with and set them up as zombie death traps, like like the swinging pirate ship from an amusement park. Throw some firecrackers in there, have the zombies walk into harm's way, and it's hilarious. And then take a picture of it as it's happening. All sorts of new little carnival games and combo weapons that are themed around the alien park. So.
Tell us about some of these new combo weapons. Obviously, the community out there has come to expect some wild and wacky and gruesome weapons in the game. Can you give us like a couple of examples?
Yeah, I can give you a couple. They're actually in the version that we're showing here today. One is really funny. It's combining a tennis ball machine with some motor oil, and then you place it down, kind of like the Freedom Bear, but it shoots flaming tennis balls at zombies. That's pretty good. Then there's also one that's really funny. It's called the Pegasus. It's kind of, taking the fireworks and combining it with the little pony horse. And if you stick it into a zombie, he actually jettisons, into the sky and then explodes. It's like a bottle rocket. So it's pretty funny.
Sounds great. One last question for you. When can we expect the game out?
It comes out this fall, and it's on 360, PS3, and PC.
Thanks very much, Mike.
No problem. Take care.
I'm going to Uranus Zone! Hello?
All right, everyone. How's it going? This is Sean Snow again. You've been watching me all day, but just in case you just started watching and tuning in. So, as you might recognize, we have the ever popular Jason Lay from Capcom Games Vancouver with us. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. So, we're showing off the latest and greatest for Dead Rising Off the Record. And do you want to tell us a little bit about first what we're watching or what we're showing off here at E3? Let me switch the game feed so these guys can see it too.
Yeah, so this is our brand new demo that we're showing off of E3, and this is demoing the new area in Fortune City, which is the Uranus Zone theme park. Why is it called Uranus Zone? Well, because it's funny, and that's one of the big things about Dead Rising is it's got the humor. This isn't Resident Evil. It's not a gritty, gory zombie game. It's a bit of a funny zombie game, but of course violent and gory as well.
Yeah, I tell you, I cracked up when I first saw the trailer, and Frank's like, "I'm going to Uranus Zone." It was the perfect intro. It seemed all serious, and I'm like, "Wow, maybe this trailer's going to be different." And well, it was different, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In a good way. It was awesome. So
yeah, the team had a lot of fun putting that trailer together, showing off some of the wacky stuff that can happen in the Uranus Zone theme park area. And it does speak to what Dead Rising's all about. It's fun, it's action, but it's definitely got that bit of black humor to it.
awesome. So actually, that brings up another question that I want to ask. Do you guys do all your trailers in-house then?
Yes, all the trailers for Dead Rising are done in-house.
Very cool. I noticed it's all done in engine as well, so
Yep.
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of the game and how it looks, so no problem at all grabbing the footage right out of the game. We've got a fantastic group of guys that are on the creative side that do the trailers, and each one I think just gets better and better. And this one was a lot of fun because we've done a lot of the sort of action rock video style ones. This one we thought the theme park is such an opportunity to do something different, so let's do something that's just really kooky, and it worked out awesome.
Awesome, really cool. So here's a question someone's asking real quick. Maybe we can clarify this. So what's your role with Dead Rising? Like, what do you do at Capcom?
Right. Well, originally I was one of the founders of Blue Castle Games, which is the studio that was purchased by Capcom and is now Capcom Vancouver. And I worked on the original Dead Rising 2. I was a senior producer on that, and I was mostly in charge of the core gameplay. Off the record, I'm the executive producer of the game.
Very cool. He's the guy for all of your questions. Although I'm sure you probably won't answer all of ours. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, there's some no-fly zones. I'll let you know when I can't talk.
Well, I'm sure Brian's talking over us somewhere in the show, making sure we don't say anything we shouldn't. So, tell us a little bit about Off the Record. Just the top line stuff. I think most people know, but in case they're just seeing this for the first time, what's this all about?
Right. Well, Off the Record, it was originally going to be a director's cut of Dead Rising 2. There was always a director's cut planned. And the interesting sort of twist in the tale of how this product came to be was as soon as we saw how into Frank West the fans were, we decided that there was actually an opportunity here to do something very different, and rather than do a typical director's cut, which still would have been, I think, an awesome game, do sort of a reimagining of the Fortune City Outbreak and bringing back the fan favorite Frank West and all of the cool gameplay opportunities that would come with that. Him with his camera, we've got this crazy casino world that just lends itself to taking photographs, all of the erotica and humor opportunities and so on. So that's how it got off the ground, and the teams had a heck of a fun time putting it all together, and not just putting in, the Uranus Zone as one new area, but adding everything to the game, adding new weapons, adding new food items and clothing items, and we've got new bosses, and it's just going to be a big game. Anybody who's played Dead Rising 2, I think, are going to get a lot of value out of this one, and they're really going to appreciate how different it is.
Very cool. So how much of that are we going to see here in this demo? Actually, I should make this a little bigger so they can get a closer look at it.
Yeah, the demo definitely shows off a lot of the new content. Here at this point, you can see the clown car, which is a new vehicle that we put into the game. And
so, is that a butt or is that boobs?
That's a butt.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the clown car. And beyond the new vehicle that we have here, I think we're showing 5 new combo weapons in this environment.
Yeah.
And a number of new sort of base weapons, plus some of the new food. We've added cotton candy and popcorn and things like that to the world. And the rides, just passing the spinning ride there. These offer some new gameplay where there's sort of zombie death traps. If you go and take those barricades out of the way
Right.
and bring some lures and lure the zombies in, you can take out the masses of zombies with these rides. Plus, you've got the camera to take pictures of these things and then
Right.
get even more PP. So it's pretty cool.
That's really cool. So not only are you causing mayhem, but with the pictures back, it's a whole.
Yeah, you
other
can record
element.
the mayhem. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there still a limit on the pictures like you saw in Dead Rising 1?
There's a limit of how many you can take at one time. Yeah. We do have a locking mechanism where you can lock off the ones that you don't want to sort of record over.
Yeah.
And then we have some other tricks up our sleeve for the camera system that we're going to talk about later.
Very cool. So now, I think we've seen a little bit of this, but I don't know how much you can talk about it. How many new weapons are there in the game? I guess I'm trying to word this in a way that you can answer,
Right.
because you probably aren't going to give me a full number. But
Yeah, I can't talk about the exact number yet, but there's, like I said, 5 new combo weapons that are in this environment. There's a number of new weapons that are specifically built for this environment, like the garbage can that you can see there. These benches are new. There's one of the new food items, the cotton candy that he's eating there. Of course, cotton candy is really healthy, so you only get 1 health cube out of that one. But yeah, beyond this isn't the only place that we put new weapons in. The rest of the world will have some new weapons as well.
very cool. So, how many of these are combinable?
How many of the new weapons are combinable?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few of them. So each combo weapon requires, of course, 2 components. So there's a number that we have in this environment here, like the cryopod, which is that new garbage can, and you combine that with the fire extinguishers. And hopefully we'll see it at some point in the demo here, but that's an awesome one because the zombie actually sort of gets launched up and hovers around, spraying out all of this fire extinguisher CO2 and freezes all the zombies underneath. Another little tweak that we put on is any of the frost deckling on the ground, Frank actually slips on it now. So
Really?
that was a nice little touch.
That's really cool. What's he throwing right here? Sparklers or?
Those are the fireworks. That's one of the best lures for sure. So for these rides, like I said, if you can take those barriers out and then toss those fireworks in, the zombies will gravitate towards the ride and then get smushed.
Ah, very cool. So there's like a whole new strategy element in here now, like with the rides in particular, that I want to go out there and play it. It looks like he's popping into the menu. The thing is, I only have 1 feed, so whoops. Looks like my editor popped up and I didn't even know it. Hang on. This is my new studio, so it's a learning process.
Yeah. Can we answer some of these cool fan questions here?
Definitely. So, anything that you see that you want to point out, we'll try and say the name of who asked it and then the question itself.
Right.
So, will Frank need? This is from Blightshade. He said, "Will Frank need to find Zombrex for himself now?"
Yes, Frank is infected. That's part of the Dead Rising lore. Obviously, anybody who's played Dead Rising 1 knows at the end there that Isabella helped him concoct that formula to keep him alive. And that was sort of the springboard of Zombrex. That's where the whole idea of Zombrex came from. So in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, Frank definitely needs to find Zombrex and keep himself alive. However, he can do this on the fly. He doesn't need to return to the safe house like in Dead Rising 2, where Chuck always had to come back to the safe house to give Katie the Zombrex. He can give himself a dose wherever.
Very cool. That I'm sure that'll be a little bit of a stress relief.
Yeah.
So let's see. If you see something that sticks out that you want to talk about, go ahead.
Sure. So there's an interesting one. What's considered the official ending of Dead Rising 2, ending S or ending A? Case West seems to be based off ending A. With Off the Record, this game definitely is a parallel universe. We're not saying that this one is canon. This is a what-if situation. What if Frank was actually in the Fortune City outbreak?
Right.
In terms of ending S or ending A, I see that almost as there's a really good ending, and then there's a not so good ending. And if you never got Case West and did that springboard to continue, the assumption was that Chuck was actually killed at the end there by Zombie TK.
Right.
So for myself, I would say that ending S is probably the official ending. But that's the beauty of Dead Rising. There's lots of different endings and lots of ways to interpret it.
Yep. So here's one from Rice. This one's pretty open-ended, and maybe you've talked about everything you can yet. But what other new features can we expect from Off the Record?
Other new features. Well, there's tons of new content. We've got, like I said, lots of new weapons, lots of new food. There's a number of new clothing items that we put into the game. We've got some brand new bosses, some totally unique bosses that we put in. And the bosses, I think, are going to be one of the things that the fans get blown away by, because we went all out on those. New survivor scoops, plus improvements to the game. We improved all the loading times. That was something that the fans really called out as a problem with DR2. So loading times have gotten significantly better. And we also have the save checkpoint system. So that one is a little more user-friendly just before you're about to go into a boss battle or right after you've done a critical part in the story. You get the autosave checkpoint just in case you die. You can always come back to that. And of course, there's also the big new secret mode that we're not talking about yet that we hinted at Captivate. And there was too much awesome in the theme park to also talk about the mode, so we're going to save that for later on. But again, I think fans are going to be super happy with that one.
Awesome. Well, I guess you have to wait to see what that is. Let's see here. So will there be any more DLC Case West type of games? Like Case Otis is what
right.
they're asking for.
So there's no plans of doing a DLC, sort of a Case Zero, Case West for Off the Record. Beyond that, who knows?
Okay, let's see. So Adam Amazing is asking, he really loved the character Chuck Green.
Right.
Do you see his Off the Record sort of as a loss for him?
Personally, I don't see it as a loss for him. I mean, Chuck Green was our character. We sort of inherited the franchise from Capcom Japan, and we loved the first game. We loved Frank West, but DR2 was an opportunity to do with a new character, and we feel that Chuck was sort of ours, right? Obviously, we worked with the Capcom Japan production team, who are awesome, and arrived at that character, but we had a lot of fun with him. But when the opportunity came up to do Frank West in Fortune City, the team really got excited about that. So if you like Chuck Green, you got Dead Rising 2. If you like Frank West, you got Off the Record.
Awesome. So, see, Professor Icepick is asking if we'll see any characters from earlier games come back. Maybe Otis? ...
I don't think Otis was liked enough for him to ever come back, but there will certainly be some surprises with characters returning. All of that we'll reveal once we start talking a little bit more about the story. There was an interesting question I wouldn't mind answering there, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question was about where does the theme park Uranus Zone actually sort of land in the world of Fortune City. If you know Fortune City well, in the park, in the center, there's a series of large gates, which in DR2 were sort of the exit to Fortune City, and they were blocked off. That's where Uranus Zone lies, is just beyond those gates there. And there's a number of ways to access it. In the demo here, you can see at one point that there's an exit to get back out to the Atlantica casino, so that's one route to get in. There's another route that takes you directly out back into Fortune Park there, and then there's another one. Another question there, has Frank learned more wrestling moves since the last time? Yes, we've added more skill moves to the game, so not only do we have the neat photo one, which you may have seen, where Frank does a bit of a buddy shot, grabs a zombie and takes a picture. We've also got some more of the kind of bruiser Frank West style wrestling moves that we've added.
Awesome. Let's see. So here's a good question all the way around. So obviously, Off the Record was had a lot of help from fan feedback. So aside from the loading, what other things did fan feedback help influence on this game?
Definitely lots of the tuning. Boss tuning was one thing that was called out quite a bit in the forums. So there were a few bosses that we weren't entirely happy with where they ended up for the difficulty tuning. We've gone in and addressed some of that. Overall, the fans really seemed to enjoy Dead Rising 2. It was very satisfying for us when DR2 came out that people really thought that the same production team had built the game.
Yep.
And the fact that Capcom Vancouver, which used to be Blue Castle, built that game from the ground up and managed to replicate the feel of Dead Rising 1, we were incredibly proud of that. And to have the fans overall be very, very happy with the game and have very few sort of criticisms with it, it's actually made our jobs really easy.
You might not be able to talk about this one, but is the max level 50?
Can't talk about that one. No.
All right. I figured I'd ask anyway.
Sorry, I can't give everything away.
That's all right. So, are there any other references to Capcom games in this one? That maybe weren't in Dead Rising 2?
There are a couple of references. Again, unfortunately, I probably can't talk about them yet. But,
you might not want to spoil them ever.
Yeah, we love Capcom games. I personally grew up playing Capcom games. I'm going to date myself, but in the early 80s and mid 80s, I loved all of the old arcade games. I would spend tons of quarters in the arcades playing those games, and now to be actually working for Capcom and developing games like this is absolutely fantastic. So any opportunity that we have to take ideas from the old games and put them in, we do our best to do that.
Very cool. So I don't know the answer to this one. Is the demo out here, does it have any bosses in it?
No, this demo doesn't feature any of the bosses.
Someone was asking that question. So it's basically a sneak peek at Uranus Zone and the zombie mayhem inside.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely... We wanted to show off the new area. One of the things after Captivate that we found was people were really excited about Frank, but the overwhelming question was how different is the game actually going to be? And we felt by showing this new environment, we would very quickly answer that question. The game is going to be quite different. This area alone offers a bunch of new gameplay. Like I was saying, the rides earlier. There's also carnival mini games that are in here where you can go and play these games. It's almost like shooting mini games or throwing balls into hoops kind of thing, but with the Uranus Zone twist and that sort of Dead Rising humor twist on it. But there are these little neat distractions just during PPs, so there's lots of gameplay opportunities that we got out of this rather than do something like another casino. And the interesting thing with the theme park is the first idea we had was to do another casino. That was going to be our new area. And we went down the path of talking about what would be a cool theme for a casino. Would we do like an Asian theme thing or perhaps a space themed casino? But the more we thought about it, even though the visuals might have been really cool, there just weren't any new gameplay opportunities that we could add. The theme park was a bit of a no-brainer where all of a sudden we add all these new gameplay mechanics that we haven't yet seen in a Dead Rising game, and we can't be happier with the way it turned out. The other interesting thing is that the first instinct was to do a Western-themed theme park. So we were going to have saloons and six-gun shooting mini-games and so on, but as soon as we latched onto that sort of alien abduction culture, New Mexico,
right.
Arizona, Nevada, that one, the concept artists just started going crazy with it, and there was no turning back after that. So the end product, I think we're super happy with.
So Turnabout MVC asked, he's asking about Frank and his design and how he's a little bit older in this one.
Right. Yeah, I noticed there's a previous question as well about backstory. So the backstory with this game is that after Dead Rising 1, and the Willamette incident, Frank actually became a celebrity for a while.
Right.
He was recognized as the person who uncovered the outbreak in Dead Rising 1, the Willamette incident, and he had a book, best-selling book. He was on talk shows, and then actually had his own talk show. But Frank being Frank, he let all of this go to his head, and he actually sort of flushed his fame down the toilet. So this is several years past Willamette, and Frank finds himself in Fortune City because he's appearing on TIR. Anybody who saw the demo from Captivate saw what we did there. He comes in, he's in a wrestling costume, and he's doing his sort of celebrity zombie killer thing. And of course, after that, once he stumbles upon the outbreak, he realizes that this is an opportunity to get himself back to where he belongs, which is to be a star photojournalist and uncovering this conspiracy.
Very cool. Oh, Frank. Someone's asking about tofu zombies. I think they're Resident Evil fans.
Right.
You know tofu from Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no tofu zombies. Another note there about alien costume. Yeah, we have the alien hostesses, alien zombie hostesses that are wandering around. We do have one of those outfits in the environment that Frank can put on and make himself look ridiculous.
I saw that in the trailer. So, here's a good question then about his age and how the years have passed. Will his age play any factor in the way that he actually acts?
There's a few subtleties in there. If you idle for too long, we have some idles where he's actually stretching out his back and groaning a little bit, showing his age. Obviously, it's not fun to play an old man in a video game. We wanted him to be tough and fun to play. And it was definitely important for us right out of the gate that he was relatively strong, because he is Frank West. He has fought zombies before. Right. This isn't a new thing to him. So he does have some new skills right out of the box. And overall, I think he's a tougher character than he was in Dead Rising 1.
Very cool. Let's see. Someone's asking, when can they play the game?
Sorry?
When can they play it?
Oh, the demo. No real plans for a demo right now. The game is shipping in the fall, so demo is a bit of a question mark right now, but in the fall this game releases on PS3, 360, and PC.
Very cool. So is there anything that you'd want to talk about to these guys that we haven't touched on?
We've covered a lot. There's a lot going on in the demo and in the game for sure. I think that people will be really excited about the story once we start revealing some of that stuff. And any of the guys out there that are true Dead Rising fans and they played the first one, they played this one, and so on, they'll be surprised, I think, with how engaging the story is this time around and some of the surprises that we have with the missions.
Very cool. So I guess that brings up another question. What's the game length like compared to Dead Rising 2? Are we basically talking about the same amount of time spent in game?
Spent in game in terms of gameplay? Or?
Yeah, like the length of the game, the story overall.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so one of the tenets of Dead Rising is the sandboxing on a clock and having, multiple days to solve this mystery, and that hasn't changed for Off the Record. So you'll have key missions that you need to complete in order to keep the story going. And you've got all of the sandbox elements of the scoops. We've got new survivors, some cool new survivor missions that you can engage in. And of course, sandbox time, where you can just sort of roam around and kill zombies in interesting ways and level up.
So does that mean, someone's asking right here, Sir Dwayne, they want to see an infinite mode?
Well, I said that there was a new mode coming. I can't say if it's infinity mode, but it's going to be really cool.
All right.
I mean, those questions are always tough. I'd love to talk about everything, but the guys would get mad at me.
Sounds good. Well, thanks again for hopping on, Jason. Glad that you could show us a little bit more about it and talk to us a bit about it. I wish we had a playable thing here. I'm sure you're awesome at the game, so you know all the little secrets that aren't being shown off.
Yeah. This this is one of our fun new combo weapons here. It's a tennis ball launcher combined with saw blades, and we do have another one with the tennis ball launcher combined with motor oil, so you shoot flaming tennis balls, which is fun.
So are these pre-combined in this demo?
In the demo, they're pre-combined, just so that people on the floor could get a chance to play with them without having to build them. But Dead Rising 2 has built the convention of combo weapons and using the combo cards. So either getting hints from the combo posters or from leveling up, you get the combo cards, and then you know what components you need to go to the combo rooms and build them.
Cool. Very cool. She just got out of that crisis or cryo tube. That zombie. She got put in the cryo tube like a good 3 minutes ago.
Right.
Just made her way out of it. Anyway. Well, is there anything that you'd want to talk about with Capcom Games Vancouver in general? I know you probably can't really talk about the future. I mean, this is a big thing, but it's coming out this fall, so I mean, the studio is becoming an important part for Capcom.
Yeah, we're really proud, like I said, to be part of Capcom. Capcom is kind of in our blood since we were young. There's a number of younger guys in the studio as well, sort of up and coming artists and SEs and designers and so on that really love Capcom games, and I think that's important that you love the company you work for.
Definitely.
And you love kind of the history of the company. So we are big Capcom fans for sure. The studio is in Vancouver. Started originally as Blue Castle Games in 2005 and then became Capcom Game Studios last October. And right now we're growing, and this is the big project that we're working on at the moment. We've got some other stuff in the works that we can't talk about yet, but right now everybody in the studio is very, very excited and enjoying what they're doing, so that's awesome.
Sounds good. Can't wait to hear more. So when can we expect to see more about Dead Rising then?
Well, E3, hopefully everybody's seen the trailer or will be seeing the trailer. I'd love to hear some of the feedback on that. And then we've got some of the other big events that are coming up later in the year, so as those roll out, we'll get some more information out. Definitely stay tuned to hear about our new secret mode that we keep talking about, and hopefully at some point we'll have some more information about the story.
Sounds awesome. Thanks again for coming in and talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll be able to steal you at one of the big events again and have you tell us about what that mode is.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll be back in a little bit.
Okay, take care.